What's up, everyone? Give me 1 second. I'm trying to get this thing set up on Facebook too. And then we will get this thing going. All right. Well, hey everyone, Duran here, and I want to discuss the topic all about perfectionism, being a perfectionist, and how that can impact your life and how it can be extremely detrimental if you allow it to be. So to start off, what is perfectionism? And I would say this is something that's becoming more commonplace for people to understand what it is. And I would define perfectionism as your need to have everything perfect, your need to have everything right. Not 90% of the time, not 95% of the time. I mean, 100% of the time, things are perfect. Now, this is a very, very high expectation to reach. And sadly, it's one that cannot be reached, because the question is, how do you obtain perfection? And what is perfection to us? And when we strive for perfection, and let me say there's a difference between striving for you to become better, striving for you to be greater, versus you striving to be perfect. One is a healthy behavior, I would say, versus the other one is very unhealthy, and it can lead to very many mental health problems, anxiety, depression, things of that. And going back to perfectionism, it can cause the stress, it can cause the anxiety, it can cause the depression, and it's something that I've had to deal with in my life. And I've noticed how when you've allowed the perfectionist tendencies to take over your life, how it can lead to you getting nothing completed whatsoever. And one thing that a perfectionist really is afraid of is making mistakes. And if you're watching this and you're afraid of making mistakes, that could be a prerequisite of you having perfectionist tendencies. Because once again, going back to the definition that I spoke about of perfectionism, the need to have everything right, if you know you're going to set yourself up into a position where you're going to make a mistake or you're going to fail, the chances of you actually acting out on a particular action is going to be very, very small because of that fear of making a mistake. And perfectionism is something that goes all the way back to our childhood, where we had this need to be approved, and we perhaps may have never gotten that need of approval met. And since we never got that need of approval met, what tends to happen is we believe in our mind that in order for us to be to seek approval and then get validation, is everything has to be 100% right. And that's only in our mind, because you can't get everything right. The best way to learn is going to make mistakes and to learn from your mistakes and always implement and apply what you've learned from the mistakes. Because if you continue making the same mistakes over and over and over again, you haven't learned anything from your mistake. And this is the biggest thing that I see with perfectionists. And I work with a lot of perfectionists in my coaching business. And if perfectionists are very, very intelligent, very smart people, they know a lot about everything. However, that's what happens is they get stuck in that place of always trying to learn, but they never implement or apply what they learned because that fear of maybe not knowing enough or maybe not being good enough at it. And when you get into that place, you can't accomplish anything. And this is how that the need of validation and you probably not feeling like you're succeeding in life comes into play. And what I want to do is give you some ideas of what can help you out if you find yourself getting into that perfectionist rut, I would say. And the first thing I would recommend is getting a journal and making a gratitude list. Writing down the things that you're grateful for or you're thankful for. Because this right here is going to start to change the reprogramming of your mind. Instead of you being very, very critical on yourself, it's going to start helping you show you what you already have in your possession or what you're thankful for, and getting you into a positive mindset right then and there. I recommend doing it either once you wake up in the morning or once you're about to go to sleep at night. Those 2 times of the day are when your subconscious mind are most impressionable, and this gives you easier access into your subconscious mind outside of you doing meditation. The next step I would recommend in your journal, same journal, is to write a list of your accomplishments, the things that you've accomplished over your lifetime. And start off doing it very, very small. Don't think that you have to write down these big successes that you had in your life and these big accomplishments. The smallest accomplishment could lead to the biggest difference for you. And you writing down your accomplishments will just be a reminder for you that you have accomplished things and that you are worthy of doing so much more than you are currently doing right now. And the next thing I'll do is just set smaller goals. I can tell you one thing I did with one of my business is I made a goal of making, let's say it was like $500. And I achieved that goal. And the next month I set my goal of $1 million. And this is something that's very common with perfectionists, is we set these these extremely high goals that we are unable to meet. And then when we don't meet them, we're just setting ourselves up for disaster or setting ourselves for failure. And then we get upset at ourselves for doing that type of thing. So give me 1 second. I'm going to get my computer charged up. Give me 1 moment, guys. All right, I'm back. Great. Didn't want my computer dying on me in the middle of this video. So back to standards. It's very, very easy for a perfectionist to set high standards, have high expectations, and when they don't meet them, they don't reach them, they get very, very hard on themselves. It's not something new. This is just the perfectionist mentality. And I can tell you that it goes all the way back to the idea of not feeling like you're doing enough, the idea of you just needing validation and you needing approval from other people, when the approval that you need is going to come from you. You don't need someone else to tell you how you should be thinking, how you should be acting. You know enough in order to make that come true and be what's best for you. And as far as you not being enough or doing enough, once again, go back to that list of all the accomplishments that you've had throughout your lifetime, and you'll notice that you're doing enough. And whenever you start to see that you're telling yourself that you're not doing enough, pull out that list, look over it. You'll start to see that your physiology is going to change, because instead of you looking for all the things that are wrong with you, you're starting to notice all the things that are right with you. And this is how it's just like a flip. It's like a switch. It flips, where instead of you focusing on, I don't want to say the negative, but like the lower vibrations, you're starting to focus on higher vibrations. And it's the law of attraction verbiage, where what you think about, what you focus on, you attract more of. And one thing I definitely want to mention about perfection is we love to compare ourselves to other people. I would say that perfectionism became more amplified the moment social media started rolling around, because now you had a glimpse into other people's lives and their lifestyle, regardless if it is something that has been staged or not. You see it, you could have done something that you feel was good enough, but next thing you know, you go on Facebook or Instagram and then you see someone that has 10 times more than you in your belief system. And then you start to feel like you're not doing enough. This is how social media really became a trigger for a lot of people. And if you find yourself going on social media and it giving you some form of anxiety, and when I say anxiety, I mean it's worry or fear of an event coming up or not being certain about a particular outcome. And if you feel anxiety when you go on social media, I would say give yourself a social media detox. Start off doing 7 days, work your way up to 14 days, work your way up to 21 days. And if you still struggle with it, and I mean, I reach a lot of my followers and audience on social media, but I would say that would be best for you to just get off it completely. Because what you're doing is you're feeding into that egoic mind of yours that wants you to continue to believe that you're not doing enough. And that would just be like you knowing that there's a fire right in front of you, and you're walking into it either way. So it's you causing suffering on your own. So those are like the big things about perfectionism. I'm trying to see if there's anything else I can talk about with that. If you have any questions about perfectionism, feel free to just comment below and I can answer that for you. One thing, procrastination is really huge. Perfectionist. Procrastination is you delaying yourself from doing a particular event or project, and even possibly doing something of lesser importance over it. And that's a huge sign of perfectionism, because you don't believe that you're going to do, once again, a good enough job at it, or you're going to do it right enough for you to actually do it. So you delay yourself doing it, and you start doing things that you know that you can do perfectly. I would do this quite a bit, where if I had to do something like this, for example, if I had to do a live video or just a video in general, I'd find myself doing something instead. And I started to notice what my go-tos for procrastination were. One of them was for me to look at meditation as a way to procrastinate, me to cook as a way to procrastinate, me to just do yoga, because those are things that I believe that I can do really well at. So I would do those things over doing other things that I had planned on my to-do list. And going back to to-do list, just work off a list. We work off a list, and don't give yourself too much to do if you have perfectionism, because if you give yourself too much to do and at the end of the day you don't complete all of it, you're going to feel like a failure. And there's a lot of books that talk about how to become very, very productive. And of the majority of books that I've read, a lot of them speak about not putting too much on your to-do list for the day, because by doing so, what tends to happen is you're creating anxiety right there, of anxiety about if you're going to complete all of it. So instead, just put less on your to-do list for you to do. By doing that, and you'll notice if you just there's a psychology by you just writing something on your to-do list and write it on paper. The psychology of you writing it on paper and just crossing it out, you're gonna feel like you accomplished something. And yeah, that's right, Dr. Hansford. You feel guilty when you don't complete tasks. That's true. Yeah, and I've been there so many times. So it's you just build yourself up to it, right? Where if you're coming into really focusing on changing the tendencies that you have around perfectionism, start off small. Start off doing like 2-3 things a day on your to-do list. Knock those out. And when you get those done, don't focus on trying to do more, because then you're just putting yourself back in that perfectionist mindset of, oh, I didn't do enough. I didn't do enough. Accept what you've done, acknowledge what you've done, and the most important thing is to reward yourself for what you've done. And that could be by you taking an hour to yourself, going for a walk. But whatever it is, reward yourself. So you start to create a dopamine effect of noticing that when you do something that you can reward yourself. Because let's say, like when I was a personal trainer, I had this happen quite a bit where I would have clients that would, let's say their goal was to lose 10 pounds and they lost 10 pounds. However, they never rewarded themselves from doing so. So when you don't reward yourself for the good that you do, it's not going to seem as important. So therefore, when you reach your goal, reward yourself. And you can do that on a daily basis. Now, that doesn't mean you got to be mindful of like what your reward is. I don't mean if you achieve everything on your to-do list, have 2-3 glasses of wine or eat cupcakes. Just reward yourself in a more of a self-care way where you're taking care of yourself and you're not going to feel guilty about going on a hike in the middle of the day, or even if, let's say you've been working on something and you finally achieved it and you've always wanted these brand new shoes or dress, like reward yourself. That's what I did recently. I wanted some shoes and I just said to myself, all right, I'm going to get them. I'm doing a great job. And by doing so, I didn't feel guilty for doing it because I really just rewarded myself for all the actions that I've been taking on moving forward. And that's just, once again, going back to that dopamine effect. It's that feel good, that hormone that you release that's gonna make you feel like you're accomplishing quite a bit. So it's very, very vital and it's very essential because we don't reward ourselves enough in our society now. And once again, going back to perfectionism, it could be because we don't believe that we are doing enough and that we have to do more. And I can tell you, you're doing enough. I promise you, you don't need to get approval from anyone else because what you think about the way you look at people is how they look at you completely different. And as long as you're doing what's best for you, that's all that matters. So that's pretty much all I have. So if you have any questions, feel free to comment below and then I'll answer those for you all. All right, cool. Well, I'll be going on Instagram Live and Facebook Live every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m., bringing you all different topics to talk about. And what I have planned for Thursday is talking all about you starting your business. It's a juicy topic. It's one I'm very excited about talking about. And if you know me, you know how passionate I can be about business and everything that revolves around business. So make sure that you get on your phone, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, regardless, Instagram Live or Facebook Live. And if you felt that this video was helpful, please feel free to share it with your friends and family members. And if you are ever interested in any life coaching with me, feel free to send me a direct message and then I can get you directed into the right place for us to get started. And that way you can see how the whole entire process works. All right. So in closing, I send you all peace, love, and energy. Have a beautiful and successful evening. And I look forward and trust to see you all in the near future. Peace out.